You know what's wild? It took me over 30 years, 3 whole decades, to figure out what I'm about to share with you in just 10 minutes. And trust me, if I had understood this sooner, my days would have felt fuller, lighter, and a whole lot less complicated. But that's the thing about wisdom. It doesn't show up with a parade. It sneaks in quietly, often when it's almost too late. Now, if you're over 60, you're probably like me. You've lived through enough to know that the clock doesn't tick the same anymore. Time feels more precious. The little things start to matter more, and the big things, well, they start to feel smaller. That's why I wanted to share this with you. Not as advice, but as a conversation, one heart to another. Because sometimes one simple shift in thinking can open a door you didn't even know was closed. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about life lessons. The kind that don't come from books or news shows. The kind that hit you when you're folding laundry or staring out the window. In this video, I want to walk you through a few realizations that change the way I live. And they might just do the same for you. They're not flashy, but they're real and they matter. Let's start with this. You don't need as much as you think you do. For a long time, I chased more. More money, more stuff, more recognition. I thought if I just reached the next milestone, paid off the house, filled the closet, got the nicer car, then I'd feel content. But every time I got what I wanted, something strange happened. The happiness didn't last. It flickered for a moment, like the glow of a candle, and then poof, it was gone. Back to chasing. It wasn't until I started losing things, friends, time, even energy, that I realized how little I actually needed to feel grounded. These days, a quiet morning with a good cup of coffee feels richer than any paycheck ever did. A 5-minute phone call from someone who actually listens, that fills my tank more than a vacation ever could. There's freedom in letting go of the shoulds. I should have more. I should be doing better. I should be like so-and-so. But here's the truth. You're not behind. You're not late. You're right where you need to be. And the less you cling to what doesn't serve you, the lighter your soul becomes. Now here's something else that took me far too long to learn. Being busy isn't the same as being fulfilled. Oh, I was busy, always moving, running errands, making lists, doing tasks that look productive on the outside. But inside, I felt like I was spinning my wheels. I mistook activity for purpose. And let me tell you, there's a big difference. Some days, the most meaningful thing I do is sit on the porch and watch the world breathe. No phone, no pressure, just presence. Other times, it's writing a note to someone I haven't talked to in years. That's the kind of doing that doesn't leave you feeling drained. It fills you. We're raised to believe that slowing down is lazy. That rest is something you earn only after you've exhausted yourself. But that mindset will rob you of your peace. If you're still measuring your worth by how many things you crossed off your to-do list, it might be time to ask a different question. Does what I'm doing today actually feed my spirit? And if the answer is no, then maybe, just maybe, you're due for a change. Here's another one. And this one hits hard. Most of the things I worried about never happened. I spent years, no, decades, stressing about things that never came to pass. I worried about money, my kids, what people thought of me, what would happen if I failed, or worse, if I succeeded and couldn't handle it. But the truth is, life didn't fall apart the way I imagined it would. The scary stories I told myself late at night, they were mostly fiction. But do you know what had happened? I missed out on moments. Moments I could have spent laughing instead of stressing, talking instead of overthinking, living instead of fearing. Worry is a thief. It steals today, pretending to protect you from tomorrow. But tomorrow has a funny way of unfolding with, or without your permission. And when it gets here, you'll want to be ready, not worn down from fighting shadows that were never real to begin with. So what can you do instead? Pause, breathe. Notice how much of the noise in your head is just that, noise. Let it pass. Then go water your plants. Call a friend. Make a sandwich and eat it slowly. The world won't fall apart if you stop worrying. In fact, it might finally start to feel manageable now that we've touched on letting go of more, slowing down with intention, and stepping away from needless worry. Let's keep going, because there's something else, something deeper, that took me even longer to learn, and it's this: Not everyone is meant to stay in your life forever, and that's okay. I used to take it personally when people drifted away. A friend who stopped calling. A neighbor who moved and never stayed in touch. Even family who, over time, just grew distant. I used to wonder, did I do something wrong? Was I not enough? But what I've learned through heartache, through silence, through long walks alone, is that some people are in your life for a reason, some for a season, and just a few, for a lifetime. It doesn't mean the memories weren't real. It doesn't mean they didn't care. It just means your paths were only meant to cross, not run parallel forever. And there's beauty in that. There's grace in letting go without bitterness. But here's the catch. When someone leaves, you got to make room for someone else to enter. Not necessarily another person, but something meaningful. Peace, joy, purpose, even rediscovering yourself. I didn't expect to feel more me at 70 than I did at 40. But it happened once I stopped holding on so tightly to people who had already let go. If there's someone in your life who's drifted away, and you've been carrying the weight of that loss, breathe. You don't need to chase them down. You don't need to rewrite the past. You just need to thank them quietly in your heart for the chapter they gave you, and then turn the page. Now here's a truth I wrestled with for years. Happiness doesn't show up at your door. You have to invite it in. For a long time, I thought happiness was something that just happened when things went well, when life was smooth, when the stars aligned. But life has a way of throwing curveballs, doesn't it? Illness, loss, disappointment. They don't knock. They barge in. And if you're waiting for happiness to arrive only when everything is perfect, you're going to be waiting a long time. I learned that happiness is more like a stubborn old cat. It doesn't come when you call it, but if you create a warm, welcoming space, it just might curl up in your lap when you least expect it. I found joy in the simplest things. Sweeping the porch in the morning sun, hearing my grandchild's laughter through the phone, feeling the weight of a good book in my hands. None of it flashy, but all of it real. The kind of joy that hums gently in the background. You might not notice at first, but once you do, it's hard to imagine life without it. So if you've been chasing happiness like it's out there in the next big purchase or the next big trip, stop. It's probably already near you, sitting quietly in the corner, waiting for you to notice. And here's one that might surprise you. It's okay to do things just for you, even if no one else understands. For a big chunk of my life, I lived to please others. I said yes when I wanted to say no. I showed up even when I was exhausted. I stayed quiet to keep the peace, even when my soul was screaming. Why? Because I thought being kind meant being small. I thought being good meant being invisible. But kindness doesn't mean shrinking. It means showing up with your full heart, without apologizing for who you are. And sometimes that means doing something simply because you wanna, not because it's useful, not because someone told you to, not because it checks a box, just because it brings you joy. Maybe that's picking up painting again, even if your hands shake. Maybe it's going to the beach alone with a sandwich and a book. Maybe it's turning off your phone, ignoring the world, and watching birds in your backyard. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your peace. And if anyone has a problem with that, let them. You've earned the right to honor your own needs, not in a selfish way, but in a sacred way. Because the time you have now, this chapter of your life, it's yours. Yours to shape, yours to protect, yours to live fully. So now, we've talked about letting go of people with love. We've touched on the quiet presence of happiness and the courage it takes to live for you again. But there's more. There's a truth that most people don't learn until it's almost too late. I didn't. And once I did, it changed everything. You don't have forever. Now, I know that sounds obvious. We all know it, don't we? We toss around phrases like life is short or time flies. But most of us don't really feel it until we look in the mirror one day and see someone staring back who looks a little older, a little slower, a little more fragile than before. That moment hit me when I went to tie my shoe and realized I couldn't get back up as easily as I used to. It wasn't dramatic. No music swelled. No epiphany lit up the room. Just me, crouched down on the floor, realizing my body had changed, and with it, so had the pace of my life. The problem is, we spend so much time planning for someday. Someday, I'll call that old friend. Someday, I'll take that trip. Someday, I'll start writing that story or planting that garden. And then, poof, someday becomes yesterday, and the things we put off quietly disappear. So if you're watching this and there's something pulling at your heart, do it. Don't wait for the perfect time. There isn't one. Don't wait until you feel ready. Ready is a myth. Just begin. Take the small step. Make the call. Write the letter. Start the thing, even if your hands shake. Because I promise you this, regret doesn't come from doing the wrong thing. Regret comes from doing nothing at all. And that leads me to something else that took me years to embrace. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's strength in its rawest form. I grew up in a time when we were taught to be tough. Don't complain. Don't cry. Don't let them see you struggle. So I got good at hiding things. I smiled when I was hurting. I said, I'm fine when I wasn't. And I thought that made me strong. But holding everything in doesn't protect you. It isolates you. And over time, that armor you build to stay strong turns into a prison you can't escape from. I didn't realize until later that sharing my fears, admitting when I felt lost, asking for help, those moments didn't make me weak. They made me human. And they brought me closer to people, not further. Letting someone see the real you, scars and all, is one of the most courageous things you can do. It's how you build real connection. The kind that isn't based on pretending or performance. The kind that says, me too, I get it, I've been there. So if you've been carrying pain in silence, stop. You don't have to go through it alone. Talk to someone. Write it down. Let it out, even if your voice shakes. Especially if your voice shakes. Because there's someone out there who needs to hear that they're not the only one. And while we're on the topic of connection, let me tell you this. Loneliness and independence are not the same thing. I used to confuse them. I thought being independent meant handling everything myself, not asking for favors, not relying on anyone. But independence doesn't mean isolation, and strength doesn't mean silence. You can be strong and still need others. You can be independent and still crave company. One of the hardest things I've ever had to admit, especially as I got older, is that I needed people, not because I was falling apart, but because I was human, and humans are wired for connection. So reach out, even if it's been a while, even if it feels awkward. Send a message, invite someone for coffee. Start small. It doesn't matter how long it's been or how different your lives are now. What matters is that you're choosing connection over pride, that you're saying, I don't want to do this life alone. And if the people around you aren't showing up the way you need them to, find new people. Join a group. Volunteer. Say hello to the neighbor you always wave at but never speak to. Connection doesn't always come to your door. You have to go knock on theirs sometimes. That brings me to this. You don't need a big life to live a meaningful one. For years, I thought I had to do something great with my life. Make a name for myself. Leave a legacy. But greatness isn't loud. It's not found in awards or headlines. It's in the quiet things. The kindness no one saw. The meal you made for someone who was hurting. The way you held someone's hand and made them feel safe, even for just a minute. A meaningful life isn't measured in grand gestures. It's built in ordinary moments lived with love. If your days are simple, but you're living them with intention, you're already doing something extraordinary. If no one applauds when you sleep at night, knowing you live with kindness and truth, that's a life well lived. You don't have to change the world. Just change someone's moment. That's enough. That's everything. You don't have to change the world. Just change someone's moment. That's enough. That's everything. And while we're here, let me leave you with one last truth that took me far too long to understand. You are allowed to enjoy your life right now without needing permission. Not when the bills are all paid. Not when you lose 10 pounds. Not when your kids call more often or when the world finally slows down. Now, this moment, this breath, this chapter of your life, it's yours. And it's worth enjoying, not just surviving. You don't need to earn your rest. You don't have to justify your joy. You've carried enough. You've done enough. And if no one has told you lately, let me be the one to say it. You deserve to feel good again. It doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't need to run off and start a new life. though if you want to, why not? Sometimes joy starts with the smallest act. Getting up and opening the curtains. Putting on clothes that make you feel good, even if no one sees them. Cooking a favorite meal for no other reason than the smell makes you smile. We spend so much of our lives putting others first that we forget we're people too. People with dreams. People with longings. People with stories that still deserve to be written. You're not done yet, not by a long shot. You got pages left, and every page is a chance to live better, freer, fuller than the one before. So what now? Now, you breathe a little deeper. You walk a little slower. You stop waiting for someone else to hand you permission to start living the way you've always wanted to. Whether that's spending more time in nature, saying no more often, or simply choosing peace over people-pleasing. You get to decide. You've earned this chapter. Every gray hair, every laugh line, every scar and stumble has led you here. You didn't come all this way to live small. You came to live wise, to live well, to live like someone who finally gets it. And there's one thing I hope you take with you after watching this video. It's this: you are not behind. You are not broken. You are exactly where you need to be to begin again. Because it's never too late to start living on purpose. Not at 60, not at 70, not ever. Before we go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. What's one thing you've realized lately that's changed how you see your life? Maybe something you let go of, or something you're finally leaning into. Your story matters, and sharing it might be just what someone else needs to hear today. And if this video resonated with you, if it made you pause, reflect, or even tear up a little, go ahead and click the like button. It helps more people find this message. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We talk about the stuff that matters here. Real stories, real struggles, real growth. Thank you for spending this time with me. It means more than you know. And as you go about your day, remember this: you are still becoming. And the best parts of your story, they might just be ahead. Here's to living your best life at any age. You've got this.